So, Adam, when you think of the left-handed maestro known as James Harden, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
I just think engine. He is just an
Mm.
engine of offense. Just by himself, or with some shooting around him, can just generate decent offense. Just essentially through his own kind of force of will and skill. He has done that his entire career, especially those Houston teams. Just kind of he has the joke. Obviously, he made that. What's the line? He's like, "I'm not
I
part
am
of the
the
system.
system.
I am the system." Yeah, it's like that is true. Like that is his great skill, is to just through just like relentless like spamming of a few different moves and physicality and obviously shot making, is just an absolute engine of offense, and usually pretty efficient offense.
That's the key. And well, efficient offense is a word that I wouldn't personally put towards it. I think engine, yes, though. Like there are the years where I'll hand up, was not a Harden guy in the late 2010s, especially with a brother who's a Russell Westbrook fan. So it was always like those two are seemingly at odds until they joined the Rockets together. The question of what efficiency meant was just up in the air between the both of them, honestly. I think the difference was what Harden could do and how much offense he could create both with his three and also do it in the new age basketball, which was either getting threes, getting to the line, or making layups. And that's all his offense was. It was never mid range or rarely. I mean, the guy for 6 straight seasons averaged the most free throws, most made free throws, and 3 of those 6 was leading scorer in the NBA. He, I think offensive engine is a great way to describe him. And uh, he wills those Rockets teams in the mid to late 2010s to the powerhouse that they are. And whether you want to crap on what he's done ever since leaving Houston, just the constant changing of the guard and what teams he's playing on, that's fine. Um, and then I also think of just playoffs and any game that's not game 1 or game 4/5 for James Harden.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think there are so many great things about him, and he is one of the best regular season players, regular season offensive players this league has ever had.
Yeah. Yeah, and it wasn't just his scoring, right? It's his passing. He's a brilliant passer,
Yes.
lob passer. He finds guys for corner threes. And so, yeah, so when I say, a driver of efficient offense, it's not always for himself, but his teams always have efficient offense because he is such a brilliant passer. And that's a side of his game I wish he showed even more, the kind of point guard skills, because he's totally capable of doing that. He's so strong. He's so big. Doesn't get bumped off the ball. He rarely turns it over. That's a big driver of efficient offense too, right? So for a guy who has the ball that much, that should have been a crazy high turnover player, and he never really was. His turnover percentages just weren't that high. So that's a huge piece of his kind of legacy and ability as a top 50 guy like we have him. I know there are people who probably hear his name and think like, oh, but the playoffs. I'm like, that certainly matters. Like, no question. I mean, he has some real playoff foibles. He has some really, really good playoff games, and then he has a lot of 2 for 11s, a lot of 3 for 13s, and then some playoff games with some big turnover numbers, which was unusual, right? Because he wasn't really like that during the regular season. And that's what hurts. That's what keeps him from those upper echelons. So where exactly do we have him, Mitch, in our top 50?
So I also real quickly just wanted to say that you're right about the turnover rate, but also I think the one of Nick Wright was the guy who this postseason was the guy who said he's had games with more turnovers than made shots. So many of those games that have happened in the playoffs, and those just felt more often than a lot of the star players that we have in NBA history. And for a guy who likes to promote himself as one of the better offensive players, it just felt like there was playoff moments that he should step up. And then Josh Smith is the one that's stepping up instead of him.
Yeah.
But we have him, in the what's called the diamond tier, which is from 26 to 34. And so he's amongst the likes of his former teammate, Chris Paul, amongst the likes of some of the other great offensive engine guards, such as Isaiah Thomas and John Stockton. And so he's amongst a great crowd. However, he is amongst champions, but also some of the best players who've never won. So it's an interesting combo of guys, but it feels like he kind of fits that mold of what's on that list.
Yeah, and also I think a big thing in his favor is the longevity. I mean, he's just been doing this now at a super high level for a very long time. I mean, this is he just finished his 17th NBA season, which is quite a bit more than some of those guys in that tier. So his absolute peak, that 2018 season is probably his offensive peak, and we have a game from that season on our list that we'll talk about here in a second. But I do think like part of his kind of top 30 to 35 case is longevity is a huge piece of it, and so he just is kind of just continually stacking these great seasons like we talked about, kind of each guy's Jenga tower getting taller and taller. He just has stacked a bunch of these now. And also there are years where his block could have been bigger if he had played better in the playoffs, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what's keeping him out of that top 25, and I don't really see a route into that top 25 for him. I think at this point, even if he wins a championship, unless it's like where he's very clearly the kind of the top offensive provider on that team, which he's not going to be at this point in his career. I don't think that would kind of swing anything too much. So yeah, this is probably where he'll end up. And it's like, look, man, I mean, your top 34 player of all time in our eyes, somewhere between 26 and 34. That's a damn good career.
Yeah, and we also like to preface this. We kind of prefaced this in the intro a few weeks ago, or I guess it was just last week. This tier, I mean, the tiers are all kind of just put in alphabetically, so it's not like you're ranked in any certain spot. But I do think he kind of, like I said earlier, he fits the mold of the guys who are in this tier too. I mean, guys who've had big regular seasons have had massive successes as a second option. Scottie Pippen is also in this tier too, but also guys who have had some playoff flounders, and we figure that out as we go as well. But James Harden, man, his ability to honestly, those Rockets teams, there were some of those Rockets teams that didn't deserve a lot of the success that they got. I mean, not deserve, didn't look like they belonged amongst the top tier of the West. Deserve was the wrong word for that. But like some of those mid 2010s years, like 2015, which we'll get to, and then 2016, there's some of those years where it's him and Dwight Howard, or it just felt like those teams were such a weird combination of players, and he was the centerpiece of it all, trying to facilitate, trying to delegate, hey, here's your role in the offense while I'm going to kind of lead the show. It was spectacular to watch, especially as I'm rewatching, because in the moment I know I was probably crapping on it, but now I'm like, okay, appreciate it. High school Mitchell is gone. Mitchell of 10 years later is kind of appreciating this a little bit better now. And so I think this is just as a resemblance of his talent. And I will also say none of the games that we have for him in our five, I guess, well, hold on. I got to remind myself now, Adam. Did we have any of them from the last 6 years on our top five? We did. We had one of the 23 games. What am I
2023, yeah, 2023.
Yeah, but out before that, we have almost an 8-year gap outside of the 23 game. So it's just like there's like a 7-year peak where you're like, this is incredible, James Harden. And that's where a lot of the games we put on the list came from.
Yeah. Yeah. And that team, I mean, I had to give them so much credit because they're playing in this era of this like Golden State dominance. And yet they really did go toe to toe with them a couple times. And kind of were one of the only teams really going for it in kind of the offseason and the moves that they made, and had a player who like really gave them some problems in James Harden. He had some huge games against them at times. And obviously a couple rough ones in the playoffs too. But I actually think, the West was like so much better because they really tried to actually compete against them. And the Spurs also, I would throw in that boat as well. And it seemed like a lot of teams were kind of just like waiting for that to fade out before they kind of made any big moves. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that they actually tried to go toe to toe and tried a different style. I was always more partial to the kind of like the kumbaya ball movement, like beautiful game stuff that like the Spurs and Warriors were trying to play, rather than the kind of like, let me bludgeon you to death with like I was this is not even an insult, but I compared the Rockets to like a kid you play in like some sort of like sports video game that has learned like a few different moves and just spams them to death. And it's like, I mean, cool. Like, that's great. Like that is leading you to this like point where you can like, get a bunch of wins and, you're scoring a bunch of points, but it's like, is it ultimately going to be successful? I'm not totally positive. But I don't know. Like it was effective. Like that kind of effectiveness versus like beauty versus like, I'm constantly battling that in my own mind, even in games that I coach. And so it's like, I totally respect what those Rockets teams were able to do. Is it the way I would like want the champion to win, like playing that style? Not necessarily, because I think once a team wins, everybody tries to copy that style. And I wouldn't want that kind of heliocentric style to work because I wouldn't want everybody to play that way. But it was a great counter. That's kind of my point, is like, this is not even like to kind of crap on them. I actually liked that we had a counter and it was different. I am glad it was ultimately not
Stressful.
Didn't have the ultimate success of like winning a championship, but it was very successful in terms of like wins and a couple playoff runs. But yeah, I probably personally a little bit excited that it fell just a bit short, because I do think a lot of teams would have copied that, and I don't think that would have been great for the league.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, our most recent champion, the New York Knicks, maybe not as heliocentric, but it was a very Brunson-centric offense, but
It
not
was,
as Harden,
but
not
they
as
definitely made
Rock.
changes in these playoffs.
Yes,
Like I would say during the season, they were more heliocentric than they were in the playoffs.
correct.
And that was part of what opened it up so much for them, right? But obviously down the stretch of games, it was very heliocentric.
Absolutely.
Whereas Harden, it was like the entire game.
Yeah,
It was a
it was a lot. But we've kind of danced around some of the list of games that we have for him. So Adam, why don't you give us the list of 5 games that we use to describe, or not describe, to kind of define Harden's career?
Yeah, so obviously he's a guy who's jumped around a lot. So he's played for what, 6 different teams now?
Quick, at this
Or is
point,
it
he has
7?
6 teams. Yeah, 6 teams.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Thunder, Rockets, Sixers, Nets, Sixers, Clippers, Cavs. That's the order, yeah, which is crazy. Okay, so the first one we have is from 2012, the Western Conference Finals, Game 5. This is a game we actually did for the Thunder, not even franchise in full, so we can go back and listen to that if you want. James Harden steps up to lead the young Thunder to a huge road win over San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals. He hits the game-sealing shot. They go up 3-2 in that series, obviously go on to win Game 6 and make the finals. 2015, Western Conference first round, Game 3, Houston Rockets at Dallas Mavericks. That's the first game we're going to watch in full, and we'll talk about here in a second. 2017, Western Conference second round, Game 6, San Antonio Spurs at Houston Rockets. Okay, this is like the one really bad one we put on here because, again, he has too many kind of playoff duds to not include one of those, because you can't really tell the story of James Harden's career without talking about some of the playoff duds. And this was one where I thought, I mean, they had a real chance here. So Kawhi Leonard goes out, is missing this game. The Spurs are up 3-2. They win kind of a gritty Game 5 in San Antonio. This is the one where Manu Ginobili blocks James Harden from behind.
Yep.
To steal that game, which was a crazy game. I was watching that with Austin in St. Louis, actually. But yeah, so it's home. They're back home for Game 6, and it's like, oh, no Kawhi. Like the Rockets should definitely even this series. They had smoked the Spurs in Game 1. And Harden was awesome in that game. But it's a really pathetic performance from Harden, and the Rockets fall to the Spurs in the second round with Kawhi out. I think they lose the game by 30. What was the final? It was like 38.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like a joke. Yeah, they just absolutely destroyed at home, and the crowd is just like gone by the end of the game. Just kind of a pathetic performance. 2017-18 regular season, January 30th, 2018, this Orlando Magic at the Houston Rockets. This is the second game we're doing, breaking down, so we'll talk about that in a second. And then 2023 Eastern Conference second round, Game 4, Boston Celtics at Philadelphia 76ers. An incredible 42-9 performance from Harden evens up the second round series with Boston, a series that they would go on to lead 3-2, actually. And then your Celtics storm back and win 2 games to take the series in 7. But yeah, this was a genuinely like amazing performance from Harden this game 4.
Because he hits like 2 clutch threes at the end of the game, both like corner threes, and the Celtics have left him open. Yeah, no, trust me, I remember it. It was terrible. I do remember I was for the block game, by the way. It was like the 2 weeks I was home between college and then going down to Gulf Shores, Alabama for 2 months. But it was like I was home, and Evan and I were watching it, and I just remember Ginobili blocking it and just losing my mind. I was like, what? Super crazy. I mean, that was just an awesome moment.
It's a great game. Great game.
It is a fun one to go back and rewatch. But I think you said it too. Like, we'll have some of these guys, and we had one for Kobe, where some of like the big failures or like bad games we'll have to talk about because they have to be discussed. Because for the Rockets Rockets Anatomy of Franchise, we went back and watched a bad game that they missed. What was it? 27 threes in a row. I mean, so we've done bad game watching before, or like more so collapses before. But yes, that Rockets Spurs one in 2017 is one of the lower points in Harden's career. I wouldn't say the lowest though. But let us rewind and go backwards in time in 2015 to our first game that we had down for Harden that we watched, and against the Dallas Mavericks. And Adam, why don't you give us a little bit of a preview of how we got here for Harden in this 2015 season?
Yeah, so this is Harden's 6th overall season at this point, his third with the Rockets. And this is the first serious contender in Houston that he was the primary engine of. It was his third All-NBA campaign and second on the first team. The Rockets had signed Dwight Howard in the summer of 2013, and while they had a nice season in 2014, they fell to the Blazers in the first round thanks to Dame's game winner. That's the crazy one over Chandler Parsons. That Dame hits to end that series in 2014. 2015, the Rockets team, coached by Kevin McHale, won 56 games in the regular season and were the number 2 seed in the West behind the Golden State Warriors. Houston won the first 2 games of this first-round series at home, both by 10-plus points, had won them pretty handily, setting up this Game 3. And then we watched the ESPN broadcast with Mike Tirico and Hubie Brown on the call. Remember when Tirico was with ESPN? Feels like so long ago. But yeah, so that was the setup for this game. So this game's in Dallas. Again, 2015, second round. This Dallas team is like, it's Monte Ellis, it's JJ Barea coming back. He came back to the Mavs. It's Dirk. Tyson Chandler came back to the Mavs. Just kind of a funny collection of players for the Mavs.
Well, not only that, it's both teams who have a funny collection of players. I mean, because you got, I think the fact that Pablo Prigioni gets minutes for the Rockets is just a wild name to be looking at. Jason Terry in a Rockets jersey, totally forgot about that blip in time.
Josh Smith, Corey Brewer.
Yeah, it's just this 2015, which again, one of the other collapses is during this season for
is later, later in the playoffs.
Yeah. Later, yes, but this is not one of them. This is one of the good moments. And Adam, I think there's the questions we go through for these discussions, and I think they're great. I want to start here though with: is this his best playoff performance in your mind?
I mean, it's got to be right up there. This is a very fun game and such an interesting like coaching matchup, like the different styles and things like that. And Carlisle does wonders to kind of keep this close. He's like losing players as the game is going on. But no, Harden, it's like they have no answer. Like they just have like no way to stop him. Like it's just he is just relentless in this game and just absolutely dominates on offense.
So let's start here then with like the stretch that truly defines this player, the sequence of the game that sums up this player. What did you have for him?
I actually put the first quarter.
Okay.
I put just like the entire first quarter because he shows every single like tool in the tool bag. So Dallas made that like kind of late run in the first quarter, but Harden like just dealing, just pocket passes, skip passes, floaters, catch and shoot, lob passes, the entire arsenal. He goes 5 for 5. And just is like I said, just Dallas has no answer for him. Like he kind of just gets whatever he wants. Now Houston's having a hard time stopping Dallas on the other end, but offensively, like they just can't stop him at all. It's a really impressive first quarter. It's an impressive game, but the first quarter he comes out and sets the tone.
No, and you're absolutely right. The first quarter, it's one of those moments where like you can see the aggressiveness both on offense and how locked in he is on defense because he knows there's a moment. Like you talked about, guys are kind of falling, and at this point, the Mavericks haven't like. They're not dropping like flies. Yes. But it feels like he can sense the moment that's necessary. And it's one of the rare times that it's not a game 1 or game 4 that James Harden steps up. But it is just a great performance on the road too, which I think is even more impressive. Like, and at this point, which we've done the discussion before about home court advantage, like on Hooper's Almanac. But I think this is a team that you could have probably bet that they were going to lose on the road. And in years past, we've seen it with some of these Rockets teams in 2013 and 14. But this was a game where you're like, oh my gosh, since the moment got locked in. It was great. I had the third quarter just because of the explosion of offense as well as the creativity that he shows in that quarter. But, we've talked about it before, just like his passing, his scoring. And he's also just one of the better guard rebounders we've had in the league. And we're going to talk about a triple-double he has later. And, triple-doubles just get a little bit more exploded in the back half of the 2010s are a little more hyped. And he might have been a part of that. But this is just that quarter, he is just an important factor on the boards with Howard. And you can see it just throughout the game. And that's like he has 4 of his 5 rebounds in that third quarter as well. But his creativity looking for others and his 16 points in the third quarter. Again, it's first quarter, they're coming out hot, trying to set the tone. Third quarter, they are also coming out hot, but it's like they're down, and he's just trying to bring them back into the scope of this game as well, it feels like. Reel them back into the game.
Yeah. And those are historically the two stretches. Like he usually plays the entire first and the entire third quarter, especially these Rockets teams where he was like, again, the main guy. Then he would kind of rest the start of the second, rest the start of the fourth, that's a pretty common like superstar break is they basically play the entire first, entire third, and then rest part of the second, part of the fourth. And Harden obviously does that in this game. And yeah, both the first and third quarters, he's just like relentlessly good. Like he's just is all over the place. And Yeah, the creativity of the passing. I don't want to like. I think his passing is like totally underrated. Like the high assist number, sure, but the creativity of his passing, like I think there's a big difference in like his assists and like Russell Westbrook's, where it's like Westbrook's are like, man, last second, let me find a guy. Last second, like let me just like get this lob off, or last second, let me kind of dish to this guy in the corner. Where Harden is like passing guys open and leading guys in these like little short rolls and things like that, and making like all these players better. Yeah, I think his passing is like super underrated, and I think he showed all of that in this game.
Man, you're gonna have a fight with my brother about the Russell Westbrook v. Harden passing. No, I think there's moments where you can feel that in this game. And listen, we've talked about Howard in the past. We're going to talk about him this in the coming summers. I mean, just like his impact on offense, and it's because a guy like Harden can like get him open, pass him open, especially at this stage in the NBA. At this point in the NBA, that was how he was getting his offense. And so, yeah, no, it makes sense. What did you have for the non-basketball moment of the game for him? Because, by the way, mine is Tarico, and that was just a nice, pleasant surprise. Honestly, you said early on, Tarico being on ESPN, I was like, whoa, I'll take that.
Yeah, blast from the past. I had all the Rondo talk before the game, because remember, he got sent home after this game. He had that crazy like 8-second violation. It was just like total detriment to the Mavs. And like the way that, I mean, he essentially just told to go home, and like we just don't want you on the team anymore, which is hilarious. And the way all the players, like the quotes from the players in the report, that I think it's Heather Cox that gives a report, just like, yeah, like, it's just like been much better since he's left. Like Tyson Chandler, I was just like, wow, they just don't care at all. They're just dragging him. They give a bunch of stuff. Actually, it wasn't that they didn't have to give up that much to get him in that previous trade deadline. And man, it was just a disaster. Like him and Carlisle just butted heads, and it just clearly was not a good fit. And like that was hilarious hearing all that talk, because obviously game 2 is when they kind of sent him home. They go down 0-2, and they're at home for this game 3, and he's just nowhere to be found. I thought that was hilarious.
Sounds like Rondo, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I feel like his stop here and then in Sacramento were just not worth it. And I think what's funny to me is the collection of guards that Dallas has, whether it be Felton, and then it's Barea, and then it's dusty old Devin Harris is just still running out there. And it's so funny to me. And
Raymond Felton,
yeah, and then it's Amari Stoudemire and Charlie Villanueva off the bench. Yes. Like it's just, again, it's the murderer's row of who can you pull out of at 40 years old, or like late 30s? Like who's going to come out and play for you? So no, I think it's just such a funny collection on both teams, because we talked about it earlier. I mean, this is young Clint Capella for the Rockets. It's Terrence Jones, who honestly I had a fondness for. I don't understand it. It was a bully ball 4 who could stretch the floor a little bit too. Yeah, and then you're gonna have to help me with this. He was a guy in 2K like in the mid 2010s, mid to late 2010s. Kostas Papan. You're gonna have to help me with that one. Kostas.
Yeah, Papanikolaou. Yeah.
Thank you. Some reason 2K thought he was gonna be the next big thing, and so if you did some sort of simulation and you were 2 or 3 years ahead, he was a dog. But
still playing for the EuroLeague champs, Olympiacos.
Well, there we go. Still killing it over in Europe. Anything else from this game? The Rockets won, and then they go on to win this.
Did. And it was kind of a thriller. It was like down the stretch, it was actually like a really like awesome game. Like an undermanned performance from Dallas, and like I said, they were losing guards as the game went on. But Harden was just too good. I mean, he had that big layup to kind of seal it late. They win 130-128, take a 3-0 series lead. Obviously, they go on to win the series and face the Clippers in the second round. But I mean, it was actually a really fun game. I think a totally worthwhile one to watch if anybody wants to watch it. I also did note that Chris Finch and JB Bickerstaff were on staff for the Rockets. They were both assistants, and look at them now. They're leading obviously 2 really good teams in the NBA now.
You're right. Mavericks didn't run out of effort; they just ran out of guys. They just ran out of bodies. And again, Devin Harris cannot be guarding James Harden in any sort of offense. No, it's very tough. Okay, let's fast forward a few years we have a regular season game on. I feel like at this point we had a regular season game on both Julius Erving and Kobe's list, and we're gonna have one on the next guy's list too. But we had not watched one, and this is the first one we watched, and we both agreed that for Harden, we highlighted it early on. His regular season success has to be noted. And this is one of those great regular season games. And and it's in 2018. It's just past. It's just the turn of the new year, at the end of January, and we're in Houston as the Magic come into town. And so, Adam, why don't you paint the picture of how we got here in
Yeah.
2018?
Yeah, it's not only a great regular season, during, it's a great regular season game during his best regular season,
Right.
2018, the year he wins MVP is just, statistically just really incredible. It was his peak. Yeah, like I said, his MVP campaign leads the Rockets to 65 wins in the regular season, best record in the league and the best record in franchise history. Chris Paul obviously had joined the team in the offseason. He was out for this game, so Harden had full control of the offense, and it obviously showed. And yeah, this is just a Magic team that's like another kind of strange, like hodgepodge of
Yeah.
players. And it's just before they kind of had that little kind of 2 year playoff window with like the Vucevic and Fournier and that whole crew, Terrence Ross and all them. This is just some names you're like, oh yeah, that guy, that was great. I got to see him play again. But this is one where like kind of a sleepy Houston crowd, just a January night, but then all of a sudden Harden just goes absolutely bananas and puts on a genuinely historic performance.
So yes, do you want to go through the rosters, or do you want to go through anything else?
No, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. If you have the rosters pulled up, go ahead.
Well, so for the Rockets, so the starters were Luke Mbah-a-Moute, Ryan Anderson, Clint Capella, Eric Gordon, and James Harden. So Harden at this point is clearly the point guard. And then the Magic that night, they got Jonathan Simmons, former Spur, Mario. I always screw this up. Mario Hezonja. Hezonja. Bismack Biyombo, still playing, current Spur. Evan Fournier and Elfrid Payton. Gosh, what a name. Yeah. What a throwback to these Magic teams. It's such an odd combination. And Aaron Gordon's out. He's sick. I can't believe Vooch wasn't on this team in my mind. Or was he just not playing?
Oh, he must have been hurt. I didn't even look that up. I know he didn't play in this game, but surely he was there already.
You'd think he was hurt. Yeah. I was going to say he had to be on this team because I'm looking at this roster. And I'm like, this feels like a Vooch team. And this is 2018. Yeah, this was a Vooch team.
So they make the playoffs in 2019, with Vooch.
Right. So yeah, I feel like Vooch was on this team. But, you look at the stat line, and I'm just going to spoiler it for everybody. James Harden has 60 points. And then he also has 10 rebounds and 11 assists. So he's at this point the first ever 60-point triple-double.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, so he just probably stat padded at the end of the game. And no, this was a close game against a Magic team that honestly didn't deserve to be that close of a game. But it is a team that was fighting tooth and nail with this Rockets, and it was not a stat pad night. It was a night that Harden was just like, I'm going to cook. And it all kind of worked out. So let's start here, Adam. Your favorite moment or sequence of the game that truly defined who Harden was for you in your eyes in this game?
So I have just over 2 minutes left in the game. Harden runs the shot clock down, misses a three, gets his own rebound, runs the shot clock down again, and then abuses Fournier for a step back to break the 107-107 tie. I just thought that summed him up perfectly because he's almost like one of those all-time great pitchers that you can just like eat innings and innings and innings and innings and innings. It's like he just like that takes so much stamina to just consistently like drive and attack and step back there. It's like I don't want to understate the importance of like, especially in the regular season where like there's just so many games. Like I saw one guy raise this point one time where he's like, oh man, I think for a playoff game I might rather have like Manu Ginobili than James Harden. He's like, he's gonna be more reliable and stuff like that. It's like I fair enough. That's like I understand what people are coming from. But like when you compare the two careers, like it's really not even close. Like Harden's just way past him because like Ginobili had the luxury of not having to kind of be the engine all the time. It's like that's so hard to do. Like I don't think people understand night in, night out being the guy that everybody's game going for, and yet you still put up like 35 a night, and in this game have a 60-point triple double. Like that takes so much effort and energy, and he just did it constantly. Like I said, he just spams. It's like he spams the same like 3 or 4 things over and over and over, but he's so good at them that there's just nothing you can really do. So that to me was like, that summed him up perfectly. It's like he basically bled 50 minutes of the game and like just like killed like any hope that Orlando had of like still winning the game. I mean, there's sheer like physicality, strength, and skill.
The argument about Ginobili being more inconsistent is odd because in my mind, just because Ginobili was the great second option on the court. Harden had to be the number one, and his impact in these games is so apparent. And it's like I believe this is the start of the PJ Tucker rise, and you see it also in that fourth quarter too. Like this man's just out here doing cardio on offense, but on defense
Yeah,
he is
yeah,
working.
yeah.
So and yeah, it's just one of those games where this is probably where my quote unquote and maybe year or two bias of like this is like tough to watch basketball because it's just one guy dribbling out 60 seconds a whole minute and he's just taking the full possession of a whole minute of this game. You're like, dang, no passing, no nothing, and he's just I'm just gonna do my own thing. I did have this marked down of like one of the moments I had for him, so I'm glad you mentioned it. Honestly, it is. I had a longer stretch of it though. It's that final 6 minutes, and it's him just not only just abusing Fournier. It's like a Flalo who is like known at that point as a 3-and-D guy is like trying to stay in front of him. It's the consistent just work he has, and we have one of the step back threes that we've just like this is the thing we expect now from Harden. He just hits one of those, and so I think his consistent impact in that last like half of the fourth quarter, and this is the fourth quarter he plays the entire fourth quarter. There's also a regular season game. Adam, he plays 42 minutes, I think, in this full game. 46 minutes, 46 of the 48 minutes he's playing. I don't understand it. It's a regular season game, but it's because the Magic are apparently all over him in this Rockets team.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that says so much too. It's like that, just like the energy it takes to play 46, just to get this like random January win over the line. Like this is just what it takes to kind of be a wins machine in the regular season, and there's so much value in that. Like as a franchise, there's so much value. Like you don't get chances to be a 2 seed and have like these home games, where like he has these duds. Like you don't even get a chance to do that unless you can do the thing that kind of gets you there. So I don't want to like ever lose sight of that. Like, yes, this guy's got like some major playoff duds, and like those should definitely be talked about. But you don't even get the chance unless you are good enough to get up, to get 60 wins and to be up 3-1 in a series and to be up 3-2 in a series. Like that takes like it's like kind of classic man in the arena stuff, like that famous quote, right? It's like who are we to kind of like
Teddy
judge?
Roosevelt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's like I mean he is the one doing it. He is the one with like the blood, the sweat, the tears. So yeah, I'm just like so impressed like what he's able to do. Again, as a team, it's not my favorite thing to watch. I totally understand why, like especially at that time, like kids were really into it because it's basically like playing my player, like on 2K. It's just like, hey, how many stats can I put together tonight? It's like that's like almost the approach. Now I know he was trying to win games and he thought this gives us the best chance, and Daryl Morey clearly thought this gives us the best chance. Like let's just kind of like spam this like these like 3 or 4 things, and it usually did work. They won a lot of games. So yeah, this was just like such an impressive overall performance.
Yeah, I agree. It's incredible. And again, we're seeing the full repertoire of everything we talked about his passing game. In the first game, you're seeing him deal and passing a lot. And it's the Ryan Anderson minutes. Oh, I didn't need half of them, but you know what? Whenever he hits a 3, you're a happy human. And I'm sure Rockets fans were happy when the 2 threes he hits in this game. But man, the Ryan Anderson minutes are something else. Honestly, I'll take the fact that Gerald Green's the third most shots in this game is also kind of funny to me. But yeah, it is the full repertoire. There were like 2 bad turnovers too. It's like, oh, that didn't need to happen. And you're like, oh, but it is such from Harden's perspective, like he has 5 turnovers in this game and like 2 of them are just, oh, didn't need that.
Yeah. Yep.
But it is the full repertoire of when he cares, he can play defense. And then when he wants to, he's the best rebounder of any guard in the league at this point too. So just the level of effort that he chooses to have in certain games is incredibly.
Well, and I mean, this first half stats are like the most like James Harden. Like, so he's only shoots layups and threes. Like they show his shot chart at the half. The only thing, I mean, obviously a couple free throws too, but he had taken he was 8 of 8 on layups. I mean, like they're literally like the dots are like at the rim, and then 0 of 7 from 3, and those are the only field goals he took. So he took 15 shots, 8 of 8 from the paint, 0 of 7 from 3, 24 points. But the Rockets were down by 1 at half. And this is a game, like you said, Houston made them earn it. How good was Spates in this game? Maurice Spates for Orlando, on fire and hitting like really difficult shots. It was crazy.
I mean, listen, he's proving his worth for some of those Warriors teams, honestly, and it's kind of funny. But yeah, and it's not only him; it's our Texas boy DJ Augustine too, who I will still forever give him the credit for that 2019 Game 1 when they have over the Raptors in the first round.
Yes.
He is deserving of that. But then again, you also get the full Fournier experience. Like, fuck, this guy's just hucking out here. So yeah, it's one of those games. You're like, how are the Magic still in this with the collection of guys? You're like, oh, these guys are trying to still earn a buck. Also, Shelvin Mack, man, doesn't miss all night with his 5 for 5 in the game too. Which that's just, I love saying the name Shelvin Mack. I don't know what it is, but it just sounds right for an NBA player. Anything else? Non-basketball moment. What'd you have?
Yeah, and I was just looking at it. Vooch, he had been on the Thunder since the Magic since 2012. He was just injured for this game. Okay, non-basketball moment. All the talk of the broadcast about advanced stats, and like it was basically just all over the basketball world at the time, and they're kind of trying to explain a few of them to like the audience. It clearly is just like not something that's like quite as kind of in the discussion ecosystem as it is now. So like Matt Bullard is on the call. I watched the Houston broadcast, and like he's just trying to explain like, hey, this is why they measure like points per possession rather than just like, or points per 100 possessions rather than just straight up points per game. And like this is why it's a better measure of efficiency and things like that. And it's actually kind of cool. It's kind of nice, but it's also just like, oh wow, this is like where we were, even 8 years ago, where it's like just kind of this like these weren't like super widely accepted, and part of the reason they are now is because of these Rockets teams and like how much they relied on kind of the analytics side of the game, and and that informing their style of play. So I thought all that stuff was really interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought the reaction by the bench at the end of the game. I don't know if you watched until after the game when they were like, "Oh my god!" They realized it was 60-10-10 or 60-10-11. They were like, "Oh my gosh!" And so I just think they're looking at the scoreboard and then them realizing, "Oh, this is the first one ever." It's pretty interesting.
The hype. And they show Calvin Murphy because he's obviously like their studio guy. They show him multiple, and Calvin Murphy had the former record for most points in the game by a Rocket, and they show him a couple times. And there's a play where Harden drives and like throws a lob, and you can see Murphy just goes, "He should have shot it. He should have shot it." Like he wants him to break the record, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think there's we've done the discussion before, but there's in some teams' eyes, it's like sacred ground to never break a historic guy's record. I think the fact that there's historical players, Kareem did this for LeBron, but like guys like Calvin Murphy who are just like, no, man, this is history now. Like make history tonight. So I think that's so much fun too.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's what makes the game better. A much more palatable experience, I think. All right, so now we have our additional questions. What jersey would you buy of this player? / do you already have a Harden jersey?
I don't, and kind of part of the question in my mind is like, would I buy one? And I don't think I would. I don't think no offense, I'm not. Yeah, this is not like a whatever. I just he's the first guy that we've done that I do not. Well, I guess I don't have a Julius Erving one, but I really want one, so I'm
sure.
kind of in the market for one. So I would not. I don't think I would get a Harden one.
And hand up, I'm not as big of a jersey snob as Adam is, and no, I would not either. I guess you're a little bit more liberal with your jersey buying than I am, so maybe not snob. Yes. I'm more the snob, I guess.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't. But if I did, it would probably be the Thunder version of it. Honestly, like the white Thunder jerseys that they had in the early 2010s. I pull those back out.
I did quite like him on the Thunder. Like he was one of those guys. Like, man, I like this Harden guy. He's pretty fun. And then he was on the 2012 Olympic team, and I thought that was a good fit. And that fall he got traded to Houston, and the rest is history.
What other top 50 player would you pair with him? And I think there's two different routes you go with here. And I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Give me Reggie Miller.
Oh, I like that.
Give me off-ball moving Reggie Miller, because at this point he already has big men that you've seen him try to have success with, whether it be Harden, Capella, Embiid. Just throughout his entire career, he has success with rim running big men or just like top tier big men. He hasn't, and he had. By the way, just peek behind the curtain for everybody. I effed up, and this is being recorded a little bit later because I watched 2013 first round game 3 and not 2015 the Mavericks game. Chandler Parsons was the perfect running mate, and God forbid he goes to Dallas and just changes his entire trajectory of his career. Because I think if he stays in Houston, we're talking about them having a better duo. I think that's what we're missing. He misses a wingman on the wing, like just to be a shooter and a secondary scorer. Not a guy who needs to have the ball in his hands that much, but when he does and he's outside, and he kind of fits the mold of what Harden needs is like an outside shooter, like that kind of offense. I think Reggie Miller kind of fits the mold there.
I like that. So I'm assuming, yeah, your two routes was either that, the kind of off ball guy that he can kind of, or like the rim running, rim
Yeah,
protecting center.
yeah.
So I went that, and I put a specific kind of era of this player. I put young David Robinson, a guy who could clean up all of his mistakes on defense,
Hmm.
run with him, right? Because Harden could push the ball when he really wanted to, and then just the lob threat. I mean, young David Robinson was just like a freak. So the lobs from Harden. I mean, Harden is such a good lob passer. I just feel like that would have just been an unstoppable combo in the pick and roll. So that was my answer.
I think either him or young Patrick Ewing were the other two guys. The only two guys I thought of. It's one of those like, yeah, one of those three. Honestly, Ewing, Robinson, Miller. One of those three. I feel like is a great. But yeah, clearly there's a mold of what two kind of players kind of fit around him. He just hadn't had a wing guy to shoot like that around him outside of Parsons. Like
Yeah,
who
or
else? I mean,
KD earlier in his career, but yeah,
well, that's fair. Yes, but he wasn't the hub of the offense at
no, he
that.
wasn't. No, no,
So, and then KD later in his career too. But it's also, again, he wasn't the true hub, it felt like, on those Nets teams. He wasn't the one always running the show. So I don't know. It's just like Harden had in those situations, like especially like this 2015 or 2018 version of him, you're like, you're the hub, sure, you're the main guy, but you needed a really good shooter as like your secondary option in my mind. Because yeah, some of those teams you're like, man, you're missing something because you have your big man already, but you're just missing a wing to help you with a little bit of the scoring load and more so a shooter. I feel like was the better fit, but I'm also hand up, could be wrong, and that's fine. I'm okay with being wrong. Um, our final question for Mr. Harden: where is he now? Well, we talked about it. He's still playing, and he's in
playing.
Cleveland
Yep,
on his sixth effing team.
yep. But still
um,
playing the conference finals, which is a place that he was playing in one of the a couple of rounds or a couple of the seasons that we talked about, right? In 2015, 2018, he played in the conference finals in those years. Just played in the conference finals in 2026. Pretty amazing. I mean, this is what I'm talking about though, the longevity, right? 17 years in, and still a super effective player. Obviously not what he was in 2018, but still a valuable player to have.
does he only make three conference finals?
Well, I mean the Thunder, 2012.
Well, duh. Thank you. Four.
Yes, and
Sorry.
2011 and 12. The Thunder made it both years. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Five.
And then,
Three.
yeah, because none with Brooklyn or New York, obviously. So yeah,
You mean the Philly
yeah, sorry, yeah, Brooklyn, New York, yeah, Brooklyn or
or
Philly,
Clippers
yes.
or the
Yes.
Clippers?
Or the
Yeah.
Clippers.
So yeah. So it's one of those things where you're like, as the hub, he made it twice with the Rockets. I think that's the other thing that people misconceive is that they were also always playing the Rockets. The Warriors were always playing the Rockets in those conference finals, or it
Yeah, they
was the
played them
Rockets.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did play them a bunch. Like they played them in
Yeah. Yeah.
15, 16, 18, and 19. The Warriors and Rockets played in all those years.
Yeah. So many
And the Warriors
years.
won all of them.
It either felt like the Rockets were playing the Warriors or the Spurs at some point in those playoffs.
2019 was a huge chance because KD gets hurt in that series,
Right.
and the Warriors still go on to win it.
Well, that and then the 2016 year. Or what's the year that they
16, they were the 8 seed. They had that really weird regular season.
Oh, that's right.
They were
Yeah,
like
yeah.
500, and JB Bickerstaff took over like halfway through the year, and yeah, that was kind of a strange thing. Then they brought D'Antoni after that, and then they have two really good seasons in a row. Well, three, I guess three really technically. And yeah, 17, 18, and 19. But yeah, that 16 team was strange. They lose. They're the 8 seed, and they lose to a Warriors team where Curry got hurt.
Thank you. I was like, I'm missing something. But yeah, you're right. Thank you. Okay. Anything else about Harden before we move on?
No. I mean, yeah, totally worthy of his place in our top 50.
Absolutely agree. Adam, who are we doing next week? Or
Next week.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
it is next week. It's Tuesday.
Yeah,
It'll be
Tuesday. Yes. Our next episode.
Yes.
Next episode is we're going way back in time.
Yeah.
But a guy who had a similar, very large offensive profile for his team, and is a bit polarizing at times. But we're going with Bob Cousy.
The man, the Houdini of the hardwood. It's gonna be a blast. Who? And you're right. It is a very similar offensive mold that we're seeing here with Harden. But we are going way back. And guess what? We did find a game for those who are curious. We did find a game to watch for Kuzi. It's an interesting one. But thanks everyone for listening. Super fun episode. We were just getting started. We're now 3 of 50, 3 of 25 this summer, though, that we're excited to keep doing for these guys. This has been the Anatomy of a Superstar for James Harden.